should start.
This meeting is being recorded.
So I do want to apologize. I got so crossed up on the homework because I couldn't remember what we talked about in class, but and I know you got you at least started the research paper, Jasper. Did you actually finish it?
Yeah.
You did. That's right. Okay. Because I just like panicked when I saw a message from Melina and she was asking some questions, and then I was looking back and I thought, oh no, I think I assigned too much. But I guess we worked on I was kind of out of it yesterday, so I'm sorry for the confusion. I was confusing myself. I was sitting there looking at everything going, what did we even do? I don't even remember. So anyway, I think we worked on the third topic in class before spring break, if I remember right. And then we were going to have you guys, I was going to have you work on the actual paper. So I'm gonna slow it down a little bit right here. So if you're done with your paper, you're ahead of the game, and I'll probably just look at it and give you some feedback and maybe see if you can, if there's anything you need to add or change or whatever. But anyway, so we're gonna just go over some of that stuff today. So I just wanted to make sure to tell you guys, I'm really sorry. I just completely blanked on what we did. I think I was telling Jasper, Melina, because I know you're listening, that I slept a lot on the break, which was good, but a lot of things went gone. Anyway, let's do some grammar, but we'll figure it out. I'm not worried about it. You guys are good. And it's not it's not for waste. If you did do the whole paper, it's never going to be a waste. So we'll figure out how to recover from that. But we'll talk about that after grammar. Let's do grammar first. All right. Page 139 is where I'm at. And we're talking about usage with affect and effect. It's one of those homophones that, affect or effect, that they sound the same, but they're definitely different words. And so it's easy to get those two confused. So they're going to have you practice identifying the correct usage of the word in this homework this week. So usage errors occur when a word is used incorrectly. That's pretty obvious. So your example here, Dorinda was deeply affected by her transformation. Affect is a word that means to have an influence or to cause. And obviously that's the verb. And then one effect or effect, normally we say effect, same effect and effect. But this one's with an E, of becoming a toad was surprisingly positive. In this word with E is a noun that means the result of some action. I still struggle with this, guys. I mean, I misuse it sometimes. And it just is going to take practice and memorizing. With an A, it means to have an influence. With an E, it means the result of an action. Okay.
I don't think I knew the difference between the two until just now.
Okay, good. Well, I feel better. Thank you, Jasper.
I always just kind of use them synonymously, and then if there was an autocorrect, I'd let that.
You know what? I rely on that so much myself because I'm thankful that they do it in emails too. You can get that little autocorrect in there, and that helps me. It really saves me. But yeah, it's hard to remember which is which, and I don't really have maybe I don't know if Melina has an idea, but a trick to remember the difference. But obviously one has an A and one has an E, so maybe we can come up with something. But A is influence, and then with an E is a result of an action. So okay, so cross out the incorrect use of affect or effect, and then here's your examples. Trials did not negatively affect Frederick. So it's with an A because we're talking about influence. And then here, Dorinda noticed the effect of his positive attitudes or attitude. So E is showing the result of an action. I don't know. How are we going to remember this? You got any ideas? A for an influence on something or cause. And then E with meaning the result of an action.
My mom says, how'd you say it?
I said, are you affected by it?
She
If
said,
it's something that you're affected by, it should be with an A.
well, that's just saying the same thing
No,
again.
because is it a special effect? That's an E.
Okay.
I heard what she said. Yeah, that's a good idea. That's a good idea. It's just hard to remember the spelling. See, that's where I struggle, the spelling. Which one is it? But I don't know. Maybe you'll have to come up with something that works for you. Yeah, let's think about that. Let's go through this lesson. Maybe something will dawn on us maybe on how to remember the difference. Does your mom say effect or effect for both?
I say affect or effect. So
Effect.
You're affected by stuff. So are there side effects to how will the side effects affect you? Does that make
Okay,
sense?
side effects, yeah. And that's a good one. Oh, I'm glad I'm not the only one that struggles with it. That helps me feel better. So anyway, we'll just keep at it. Maybe one of these days, maybe during the week, I don't know, maybe in the middle of the night, Jasper, you're going to have this revelation. You'll be like, I got it. Okay.
It's going to dawn on me.
Yeah.
Do a notebook.
Yeah. And then you can message me and say, I figured it out. I don't know how we're going to remember this. So
you're going to say I'm crazy, but hear me out.
Yeah, exactly. No, nothing sounds crazy to me. Trust me. I'm open to whatever ideas. All right. Okay. So the next section here is verb review. You already know these, but now you get to label them differently in your homework this week. So yay. We have a verb has a subject always. A verb acts alone or in phrases to perform different actions. So we have the action verb, that's the easiest one to identify. And then we have the linking verb and the helping verb. And some of those words are the same, it's just how they're used in the sentence. So like a linking verb links the subject to a noun or to an adjective. And then a helping verb helps an action or even a linking verb. And the helping verb and the verb, it helps, action or linking form a verb phrase. So mark every subject. We're going to do this one together. Mark every verb as an action verb, AV, linking verb, LV, or helping verb, HV, to the following sentences. All right. The first one just says, Frederick thought that he would gag at the strange food. So, let me get my pen here. Obviously we're talking about Frederick, so he's the subject here. And thought is the action verb. Actually, we need to label it AV. That he would gag at the strange food. So I think the action verbs are the easiest to identify. So I'm just going to label those thought and gag. And then,
doing?
Huh?
Because it's something that you're doing.
Exactly. It's easier to spot those because they're actually action words that they're doing. Exactly. So he is also a subject here. So we're talking about the pronoun he referring to Frederick. But here's where we've got a connecting verb between he and gag. So we have he would gag is actually a helping verb. So we're going to label it HV. Okay, so Adjectives adjectives follow linking verbs and describe the subject. So that's how you can tell where a linking verb is. All right, let's look at the next one. Go ahead and read the sentence and let's look for the action verbs first and the subjects, and then we'll figure out the other stuff. So yeah, go ahead and read it out loud.
Oh, okay. He was surprised that he did not choke, but swallowed it easily.
Okay, so let's look for action verbs first.
Is choke one of them?
Yes, so we'll put AV there.
Is swallowed one?
Yep. Those are the two. Now you might be wondering if surprised is one, but actually we're going to talk about that in a second. So those are the two action verbs. Now let's look for the subject just so we know who we're talking about here. So there's two subjects in this sentence.
Oh.
So
Is
who
it-
was it? Yeah, go ahead.
Is it both of the he's?
Yep. Both he's are subjects. So it says surprised is actually an adjective because it's describing him. He was surprised. So it is an adjective, not a verb. He did not surprise anyone. If he said he surprised someone, then it would be a verb. But because he was surprised, that makes it an adjective. Was is the linking verb. So this will be LV because it's linking the subject to an adjective. And then oh, no, we already got he for the subject. Then we have a helping verb, which is did. This is a helping verb. So he did not choke. Helping verbs help the action. So it's helping the choke. He did not choke. Okay, so that's the difference between linking verb and helping verb. Linking, it links to an adjective usually, or another noun. And then the helping verb links to another verb. All right, so go ahead and read the next sentence.
The food tasted bitter, but it satisfied his hunger.
Okay. So where is the action verb? We'll start with that.
Satisfied.
Yes, good. That's it for the action verb. So what about the subjects? Let's look at that first or next.
Is his one of them?
Actually, no, because that is describing whose hunger. So that would be an adjective there.
And is it food?
Yeah, it's food. Usually the subject is a person, but sometimes it is a noun. And in this case, it is food. And then we have the pronoun it, referring to the food. That is also a subject. So, because this confused me a little bit too, but I mean, I'm not saying you're confused, but this confused me. I'll say that. Tasted seems like it could be a verb, but because of where it is in the sentence right here, you have the food, which is the subject, tasted bitter, which is the adjective. So it's linking food with the adjective bitter. So this becomes the linking verb. It still is a verb. It's just not the action. It's a linking. All right, I'll see if you can do the next one totally by yourself. See if we can figure that one out. But go ahead and read the sentence first.
The chef kindly prepared and served him insect delicacies.
Yes, and so, yeah, we're talking about Frederick. So what about action verbs in that one?
Prepared and served.
Yep. Subject,
Chef.
yep. And actually, that's it for that one. So we didn't have any linking or helping verbs in that one. So try the next one.
Frederick had encouraged Dorinda to eat, but she refused. Encouraged is an active verb.
Mm-hmm.
Is eat one?
You know, because it's to eat, it's considered an infinitive. So no, it's actually a noun in that sentence. So that would not, it's one of those words that changes depending on where it is in the sentence. So not that one. Yeah.
And then refused.
Yes, and refused. So we do have, well, let's find the subjects next. There's two of them in here.
Frederick and Dorinda.
Frederick, and then it's actually she. So Frederick was the one that encouraged, and she was the one that refused. So remember, the subjects link to the verbs. So we do have a helping verb in here too.
Had.
Yeah. That's HV. So that's linking the subject to the action verb. Okay. And then the next one's odd, but go ahead and read the last one there.
She should have been grateful.
Mm-hmm. So
Is it been?
actually, there's no action verb in that sentence.
Oh, okay.
But been is one of the verbs.
Ooh.
This is a hard one.
Is it a helping verb?
So let's start with the subject. Obviously, that one's pretty clear. Who's the subject in this sentence?
She.
She. And then should have been. So those are three types of verbs in a row right there, but none of them are action. So should have are actually helping verbs. And then been is a linking verb. So should have been is linking its helping verbs that links the subject she to the adjective grateful. So this one's linking because it's connected, it's linking she and grateful, but should have is actually the helping verb. So it's she should have been. Grateful is actually an adjective describing her. So that's why it's linking at the end of been grateful. Yeah, okay. There's a little bit more on the back of this page, so go ahead and turn to 40. We're talking about semicolons on this one. So I don't use them very often, but there are times when it's the best punctuation to use. So we'll just review this and then you'll be figuring out in the practice pages where they should go. So a semicolon connects two main clauses that are closely related. So you remember main clauses have a subject verb pair. They're basically a complete sentence. And sometimes you put a period between, and sometimes you use a semicolon. So it connects two main clauses that are closely related. The two main clauses express a single idea and are similar in length or construction. So on this list, we're going to read these, put a check mark in the blanks of the following sentences that use a semicolon correctly. Put an X in the blank of those that misuse the semicolon, and replace misused semicolons with periods. So what you're looking for, all of these have two main clauses, two complete thoughts. So if those thoughts are closely related, you can use a semicolon. And if the thoughts are different, that's when you use a period. So looking at the first one together, Frederick counted 10 flies in his soup. Around the bowl and above the table hovered 20 more flies, watching for the next dish. So they're both talking about flies, so you might think they are related. However, it expresses two different ideas and they differ in length. That's another thing to watch for. So obviously the second main clause is a lot longer. And so you would not use a semicolon in that case. The first main clause tells that Frederick counted the flies in his soup. And then the second main clause talks about other flies in the area. So it's not related to the soup anymore. It's just flies in the room or whatever. So we're going to take out that semicolon and we're going to put a period. That should be two separate sentences and just do the 3 lines for the capital on the first word of the second main clause. So you're looking for length of the 2 sentences. You're looking for if they're closely related. So go ahead and read the second one.
The frog side of his personality enjoyed the flies. The human side was disgusted by them.
Okay.
I put a check next to that one.
Yeah, that is used correctly. Good job. And then the next one.
The orderly was kind to bring him fly soup on a tray. That way spills were better contained. Is that one good?
Actually, no, and here's why. The main clauses, they are similar in length. So there is that. They're similar in length, but they express 2 different ideas. So the first clause tells that the orderly was kind to use a tray. The second main clause tells the benefit of the tray. So it's no longer connected to the orderly that was kind. It's a completely, even though it's still talking about the tray, that part is the same, but the idea is different. That's a tricky one. So that one is actually no. That one should be 2 sentences. Okay, and then the next one.
Frederick sometimes savored a snail. He even relished an occasional slug. I
know that's a hard
think
one.
that one's good.
I think that one's good too. Yeah, that is good because he's talking about 2 different things that he enjoys. So savoring and relishing are similar ideas. So yes, that's a good one. And they're both about the same length. So, okay.
Dorinda could not eat a spider. She would not touch the worm. I put a check next to that one because it's how she can't touch bugs.
Yep. That's good. Yep, that one is correct. And the last one.
Frederick explained that mealworms and crickets were healthy for toads. Dorinda shuddered at the mere thought of them. I put an X next to that.
Yeah.
Because,
Can you explain why?
Because it was Frederick and how the bugs are good, and then it was Dorinda not liking them again.
Yeah. Okay, so 2 different thoughts there. You're right. So take out that semicolon, put a period. Yeah, it's because she's talking about her reaction to his words, but he's talking about the toad's diets. So yeah, 2 different thoughts there. Good. All right. That's pretty good. So now you know a little bit about semicolons. You can use them in your writing if you find a place to. And just keeping those things in mind, like their length, and then if they are closely related to each other. So on your homework, you're going to do the next 4 pages. And this is pretty straightforward. There's not a whole lot in this one. I did want to point out on the next page, 142, just to show you here what you're going to see. At the end, this is 142. At the end of this, the last sentence here, it gives you that choice, affect or effect.
Oh.
So yeah, you'll figure out which one it is and then just put a line through the incorrect one. So I think when you practice that a little bit, it'll get a little easier. And like I said, if you get inspired on how to remember the difference, let me know. All right, any questions about the grammar?
No.
Okay, good. All right, we're done with that. Now, I saw, let me double check here. You have your, so, okay, let's talk about where we're at with the chimpanzees, because I know you said you finished writing your research, but do you actually have 3 fused outlines too?
Yeah.
Or 2? Oh, you do have 3. Perfect. Okay, so you have, I know we started with crime together. And then what's the other 2 that you have?
Behavior and war.
Okay, perfect. Good. So we were further along than I thought. So that's okay. I'm going to leave it. I fixed it. You're just ahead now, and that's okay. Let me look at this really quick. So you haven't had a chance to turn it in yet, right?
No, but I can turn it in now.
Okay, that would be cool. Then I can see it.
Oh,
I got to grab my water really quick. I'll be right back.
all right. Dang it. All right. I think
I
that
just
should
saw
be
it.
good.
Okay. Okay, cool. Got that. All right, I'm just going to share my screen so we can look at it at the same time. And the cool thing about Google Docs is we can both get on there at the same time if we want to make comments or type in something. So anyway, Chiefdom of Casakella. I like your title. That's good. And then I noticed you started right off the bat with one of the things on your checklist. Let me look at that really quick.
Oh, for the openers, you only have to do the number next to it, right? You don't have to underline it.
Correct. Yep. And you did it right with the brackets. That's exactly what I'm looking for. That's good. Okay. So we've got, 2 and 3. Good. Yep, you did that right. And then your bolded words are your topic clincher. That looks correct. And then you should have 6 words underlined in each paragraph. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, 6. There it is. Okay, cool. So what I think I'm going to do, because I just glancing at it, it looks like you have all the elements in there. I see you have the 2 and 3 in brackets. You've got your 6 underlined words per paragraph. 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yep. And then you've got your topic clincher. Did you get a chance to check for any banned words too?
Oh, I forgot to do that.
How about you go ahead and just read it? We'll watch for them as you're reading it. So the banned words are say, said, go, went, see, saw, think, thought, come, came, want, wanted, good, bad, nice, big.
I think there might be a thought in there.
How about you read it and we'll just kind of see if it comes up.
All right.
Okay.
In a place called Casakila, a massive crime wave struck it in the year 1974 to 1976. Unfortunately, 6 to 7 baby chimpanzees were kidnapped, while only the mothers knew of this because the fathers were away. The chimp who had started this was named Passion, and she would attack, seize, and kill the babies. Passion shared the flesh with her children, who happily ate it. Passion's daughter.
Is 8 one? Oh, no, it's not. Sorry, go ahead. You're good.
Passion's daughter, Pom, learned from her mother and attacked another chimp named Little Bee. Passion and her gang failed to get Little Bee's baby, and their plans were foiled. Little Bee and her infant barely escaped this treacherous crime, showing that Casakila was no longer a safe place for the baby chimpanzees.
Nice. Very good. Okay.
The behavior of the chimps was very human-like. Along with acting like humans, they showed the same emotions as them, like showing affection, defending themselves, and defending their families. While the chimps got easily frustrated, they were very gentle with their babies. Because the males had a very fragile ego, they would often try to intimidate each other, which makes sense considering it was a male-run society. Obviously, since the chimps were so big on intimidation, they had what's called a threat display, which was also ego-driven. They make extremely loud noises, and the males will beat their chests. They also have a charging display, which is what they will do while they charge at someone or something. They will show their teeth to look scarier when they do this. The behavior of the chimps is very human-like, as they care so much about their egos and how assertive or dominant they can be.
Good.
After a falling out happened in the chiefdom of Casakila, a war soon broke out. 10 chimps were confined to the southern half of Casakila, which was soon renamed Kahama. Eventually, Kahama became a whole society with its own territory and leadership. Because Kahama now rivaled Casakila, the chimps from Casakila would patrol the border watchfully. I misspelled first. I accidentally did
Okay, you can fix that.
One of the first things that happened was separatism. Then soon after came war. While the war devastated both of the societies, Kahama was affected the most, with its chiefdom being destroyed. During this war, it was shown that chimps were not against killing their own. And in 1977, all rebels were dead, and the chiefdom of Casakila was rebuilt. The war between the chiefdom of Casakila and the society of Kahama was one of the most devastating things that happened to the chimps.
Nice. Okay. Very good, Jasper. The chiefdom of, yeah, you've got it. Yeah.
the sentence of the second paragraph, I kind of just rephrased or like copied the first sentence, which I didn't realize I did, so I'll probably change that.
Okay, what are you talking about? The last sentence is copied from the first sentence?
Yeah, the first part, because on the first one it's the behavior of the chimps was very human-like, and then for the last sentence it's the behavior of the chimps is very human-like.
Oh, I see in the middle paragraph. Yeah. I see that.
So I'll
Is
change
that
it.
one of your, is that like a trick that you do is just copy the sentence and then so you can use what words you like?
No, I did that by accident.
Oh, you did it by accident. Okay. I was like, that's actually a pretty good idea. But yeah, you'll need to, uh, I agree. So you can tweak that a little bit and change it. And the only other part, I mean, I really like it. I like how it's worded. I really like your dress ups. They're very well placed. And your openers work really well too. I mean, I really, really like how this turned out. In the middle, I was noticing the verb tense was kind of flipping back and forth between past and present and even future when you said will show their teeth. So I was looking at that again. It's tricky because I think in the articles, some of it is present tense. That's what I was trying to remember back.
It might be because that's like a thing that most chimps do. So in my
Yeah.
head, it was just like, oh, all of them do it, so they probably still do it.
Yeah, I think you're right. And I think for the most part it flowed. I just wondered about that let's see, how would we do that? Because I do agree with you because it is kind of a trait of the chimps. So notice, even though I know you're going to change that last or the first sentence, one of them, you have the behavior of the chimps was very human-like. And then at the end, you say the behavior of the chimps is very human-like. So I kind of feel like that threw me off a little bit there. I'm just rereading a couple things here. Yeah, I got to think about this because you've got traits, some things that they were doing, like showing affection. So you have, let's look at the second sentence. Along with acting like humans, they showed the same emotions as them. So you have past tense there, and then you have like showing affection, defending themselves and defending their families. So I am wondering if you need to make this present tense. I think it actually would flow a little bit better. Like if, listen to this, the behavior of chimps, okay, the behavior of the chimps is very human-like. Along with acting like humans, they show the same emotions as them, like showing affection, defending themselves and defending their families. While the chimps are easily frustrated, they are very gentle with their babies. So I kind of feel like because the males have a very fragile ego, they will often try to intimidate each other, which makes sense considering it is a male-run society. It's called. So I wonder if in that article that talks about that behavior, do you remember if it was written in present or past? I guess we could peek at it. I think it was.
Yeah, I'd have to check.
Let's see, I'll look too. So the behavior one came from A and D. Okay. It's definitely, okay, I'm just taking a peek at source text A, definitely present tense there.
Because it says, and defend each other. It's like,
Uh-huh.
maybe that's wrong. I don't know. Sounds present tense to me.
Are you looking at source text A?
Yeah.
And then let's look at D too. Yep. I think that one is present as well. They claim their living space. About 50 live in Chimp Chiefdom of Casakila. Yeah. So that's where I'm struggling with your paper. I think everything else looks spot on, but the verb tense flips too much for me. So I'm kind of thinking, obviously, when you start your paper, you're talking about the past in 1974 to 1976. So that would be appropriate to use past tense there. That first paragraph should be all past tense.
All right.
Because that does make sense to me. I think the whole scenario, you even have their names and what happened during that time. So that came from B, C, and D. I know D is present. Yeah. So, and as I'm looking at these other articles, they do flip back and forth. So whenever you're talking about an event like the crime and the dates, you would use past. So I think your next paragraph, you're talking about their behavior. And like you said, the behavior was true then and now, and probably in the future. So present tense for that middle paragraph would make more sense to me. So just going back through and making sure it's all present tense. And then let's look at the last paragraph. After a falling out happened in the chiefdom of Casakila, and soon broke out. That's past again. Okay, I have a thought. Because you got past tense, present tense, past tense. So I'm wondering, what if you kind of rearrange this a little bit and put about the behavior first and then move into some actual events that happened in the past. I mean, you'll have to kind of change that introduction sentence a little bit. So let's see how you end that. They show their teeth due to this behavior. Chimps is very human-like. As they care so much about their egos and how assertive or dominant they can be. That kind of makes sense to me. What do you think about that? Moving that behavior paragraph to the front, the first.
Yeah, I think I can do that.
And then move the crime. And then that works because your last paragraph is from, you referenced 1977, which was after that crime. So you would basically, obviously your first sentence of your second paragraph right there, the behavior of the chimps was very human-like. You would have to add probably one more sentence to the beginning of that to kind of introduce the topic. So you can play with that a little bit. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Now, this is just, I got to remind myself of this too, because typically these research papers are at least 5 paragraphs. So these are your body paragraphs. So really, in the future, when you write the whole completed research, it would be introduction paragraph. These would be the 3 body, and then you'd have a whole conclusion paragraph. So you don't have to worry too much about how you introduce it. And you might even be able to leave that for the most part. I mean, you could say something generic like chimpanzees are interesting animals to study or something like that. Kind of like a really simple, straightforward introduction to what you're talking about, and then go into the behavior of the chimps is very human-like. Something like that. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Did you just sneeze?
No, I was yawning.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, bless you. Anyway, yeah. Like I said, though, really great. I really like it, Jasper. Just rearrange a few things and I'll make note in there so you can remember what we talked about in case you don't get to do this right away. But okay, let's move on though. Shoot, we only have 10 minutes. What in the world? Okay, but that was important. I wanted to talk to you about that. So your homework is going to be to just fix those little things we talked about, because you're ahead of the game now, and then you can catch up on your grammar and stuff like that too. So no new assignment this week for you. However, we're moving on to the next week, which is week 11 in the binder. And I'm going to talk to you a little bit about that, but you will be picking your own topic now for your research. So you can choose, I want you to choose a person, and it could be any person, but there is one rule: they have to be dead. So it can be, an athlete, a president, a musician, somebody that you're interested in learning more about. You can choose a person, but that is the rule: they already have to be dead. And part of the reason for that is because doing research online, and I hope I have enough time to explain a little bit of this to you, it's going to be a little tricky finding credible sources. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times when the person is living, there's controversy, and it's harder to sift through what sources are credible. If it's a biography of someone from the past, then you get a little more historical, credible resources for that. So that's the reason. But in the homework, I'm just going to have you choose someone and find 4 sources. You don't have to read the 4 sources, but I want you to be able to find, you do have to skim them. You have to make sure the sources are going to work for you for what you want to write about, but you don't have to do anything beyond that as far as pick your person and then find some sources. You need at least 4. So let's see. I was going to go into something else here, but I don't think I'm going to have time. So let me look at my notes really quick. I want to talk to you a minute about when you Google, and make sure you check with your parents about that to make sure they're okay with you just opening up Google and searching. Because as you probably know, a lot of things can come up when you Google. So you do have to be a little careful what you click on. There's a lot of, clickbait, right? Yeah. I'm guilty of that on Facebook. I'll be like, oh, that looks cool. Click. Oh, I want to buy one of those. It's like, I don't even know, something for the house or whatever. I think it looks cool. And I buy it and it takes like 6 months to get here. And then it's not what I thought it was. And it was like, oh man, I didn't do my research. I just was like, oh, that's cool. Click. Okay. So you have to be careful of that for other things too. But when you Google, I'm going to share my screen here and show you, just for example, I chose to research Michael Jackson. And I know Michael Jackson has some controversial things about his past. As far as an artist, though, he had a lot of talent. Of course, I'm a product of the 80s. I was born in the 70s, but the 80s was like my high school years. So that he was like big time. And I don't know if your mom's listening in the background, but he was one of my favorites. So when I Googled him, And here's an example of an article from the New York Times. Now, the New York Times is a very controversial periodical or newspaper. And you probably know from politics, you're old enough to kind of clue into some things with politics, I'm sure. Yeah. And so the New York Times is not always accurate as far as political, but they do have some great articles as far as biographies. So this would be an example of an article. Now, I do want to warn you, you'll see here at the top of their page, subscribe for $1 a week. Don't subscribe, okay? I'm sure your parents wouldn't want you to anyway, but there are some free articles that you can access through New York Times. Anytime you pull up something and it wants you to subscribe with money, don't use that. I don't want you to spend any money on that. Let's see, if I backspace here though, what I typed in was periodicals of Michael Jackson biography, and it gave me a big list of choices here. So when you're researching, you can use mainly online sources is fine. I would like, if you can, only if you guys can, it would be cool if you could go to the library and actually get at least one book about whoever the person is that you pick. You'll see almost 100% of the time you're going to see Wikipedia. And Wikipedia is not a credible source. So don't use Wikipedia. There is Britannica. Britannica is a reliable source, so you can use that as one of your sources. And I hate all these pop-ups, but you know, that's the way the world is anymore. But
I hate how for the little ones on the bottom, the little ads,
yeah,
you can click the X and then it still has the box where
I
it says
know.
ads on Google. So it's
Yep.
like
You can't ever get rid of all of it.
yeah.
It's frustrating. So here's a good one. This is Britannica. And notice you can print here. Most of the articles you can print, and I do want you to print them. So you should have at least 4. You can have 3 online and at least 1 book if you can get to the library. But if you can't, go ahead and use 4 online. I don't want to, you know, stress you guys out too much. See all these ads. So you're going to have to deal with that. And your parents might have a better search engine that's a little safer because there's bad stuff, as you know, online. So we want to be careful of that. But so check with your parents first before you just go to Google and start Googling stuff. There's the New York Times is there. So Britannica, this one's pretty good, www.biography.com. And then different parts to the article. So what you're looking for is interesting information about the person. I don't want you to spend all this time reading, and this one has a lot of ads popping up. So
3 names.
Huh?
There was a
Rings?
necklace.
Yeah.
It had the names.
So yeah. Skim through like we've been practicing in class and just kind of see, oh yeah, this is talking about some of his big hits and maybe how they came up with the lyrics and the people that helped him get famous, stuff like that. Yeah, this is going to have a lot of pop-ups. So there's also a pop-up blocker. You probably know about that too, right? Yeah. So check with your mom or your dad or whoever is techie in your family. Maybe they both are, but because I just want you to be careful as you search. But on this one, let me go back to the top again. There's not an option to print up here. So another way to do that is this part, and I have an update. You can probably see it on the screen there. But if you go to those 3 dots on the upper left here, you see where my cursor is? I said left, I mean right. Upper right, click on those 3 dots. And then there's an option to print. And then it should print just the article. This is actually going to print extra stuff, but mostly the article. So I would like you to print. I know this one's 20 pages, so it's pretty long, but you can maybe do front and back. And then just bring those 4 sources with you next week, and then we're going to talk about the next lesson. Does that make sense for your homework? Okay. Try to get one actual book if you can, get to the library. If not, you can pick 4 sources from here, from Google. If the article talks a lot about opinions, like, you know, I know that there's some things in the news about Michael Jackson possibly being inappropriate with kids. And so if you come across an article that talks about opinions and kind of goes on that trail about things, that's not a credible source. You want facts. So try to stick to just facts. And the New Yorker. So let me know if you're having trouble when you're doing your research. The History Channel, that is a really good resource to use. That's going to give you a biography, an actual history of his life. So that tells you like when he was born. So this is a good source to use. I know I kind of went through that kind of quickly. So your homework is your grammar, and then finishing up your chimpanzee paper. Most of it's done. It's just a little rearranging and verb tense change, and then coming up with 4 sources for whoever. Do you have somebody in mind already of who you might want to write about?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay. You can just maybe talk to your parents about it, or, you know, just kind of think about what you're interested in. If it's a sport, you can, or a music, or a person of history, president, something like that. I'm trying to think of what else you could do. An artist, if you're into art, or some kind of, you know, the other guy that I thought was interesting, and I can't remember his name right now. Who was the Australian guy that just went into the wild and he worked with alligators, but he was not afraid to like get stung by something poisonous?
Oh, is he on YouTube?
Yeah, he died. I can't remember
did?
his name. Your mom might know, because he was like really like hyper and always had, you know, out in the middle of the Amazon, and he's looking at these giant snakes, and he's like, let's see what happens when we do this. And
Crocodile Dundee.
Say it again.
Crocodile Dundee.
Yeah. Darn, what was his name? Let me see if I can look it up really quick. He actually died, I think. Let me see. Australian. Let me see if my husband knows. Hey, Dale. Can you hear me? Who is that guy, that Australian guy that always like captured alligators, and he actually died? What was that guy's name? Remember, he went to Amazon, and he was
Steve Irwin.
Steve Irwin?
Yeah.
Let me see. Do you remember his name?
I totally couldn't hear that.
Oh. Yes, Steve Irwin. Okay, we got it. Never mind. I thought you could hear me. I was just trying to figure out his name.
Oh.
That's totally him, Steve Irwin.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I remember I saw a video of him once, and he was like, I don't remember exactly what he said, but he was all happy, and he's like, yeah, I'm making this money, and then I'm going to get all of these enclosures to help these animals. And I was like, man, it's terrible.
He was crazy. Oh my gosh. He was like so brave. And actually, that actually probably was partly what killed him, because he didn't have any fear at all.
Because he got stung by a stingray, right?
Oh, that's what it was. Yeah. Which was so bizarre. It was just a really bizarre. He has handled so many more dangerous animals, and that's what got him.
I think it was bleeding out, because I didn't even know that stingrays had, I guess it's like their tail is stiff and sharp. I kind of thought it was like how what lionfish does it, how it's just kind of poisonous, but it went in and then you take it out and you start to bleed more because when you get stabbed or something, keeping the object in is the best idea because it holds the blood in. So then taking that out,
Yeah,
and
wow.
I think it was somewhere near the chest maybe, so that was even worse.
Yeah, I forgot about that. That's just so crazy. I mean, I can't imagine there being very many people in the world that actually die from a stingray. That's just
Yeah.
bizarre. But anyway, he would be cool. You could think about that and feel free to research him and how he got started and how he learned how to handle all the animals and there are a lot of YouTube videos. I wanted to tell you that too. You can watch video documentaries or YouTube videos and take notes and then use that as a reference or a resource. So just jot down on your notebook what the name of the video is and what year or what the date it was posted and the URL for it. And then you could take little notes and use that too. That could be one of your sources. So keep track of, so I like you to print the sources that you find. Or if you come across something on if you guys have like the History Channel or whatever, you can take notes, but just make sure you reference where you found it and what it's called and stuff. So just 4 is what you're looking for. So I think it'll be kind of fun to, I hope you think of somebody that is really fascinating and interesting to you. So be thinking, you can decide. I better stop. I could keep going.